Give me a key.
I have to go.
Give me a key.
Okay, it's beautiful.
In the Chabad, we sang that a lot in the 50s and the 60s. The Rebbe would go, well, Shalom Aleichem, come on right in. Was the door open?
Yes.
Or something like that. They shouldn't leave the door open. I know, but when it comes in, it should close. Pull up a chair. There's a chair over here. So you sing another one? I just want to see that. I don't know if everyone's aware, but Reb Steinsaltz is in the hospital. Yeah. Come over here. Reb Steinsaltz. You know, did you see the picture? He went to the Pope this week.
Yeah.
Sure, but I want to go get his safer because I'll show you. And surgery on him. He had blood clots in his brain. But he's breathing on his own, Baruch Hashem, and the way of Adin Ben Rivka Leah. So sing a song for him. Sing a song for him. Okay. Okay. So, by the way, this is a beautiful sefer, and it's available in English also. This Reb Shlomo talks on the Parsha. Huh? Reb Shlomo it's on sale where? For how much?
25 shekels.
Which where?
Mbook.co.
The hardcover or the softcover?
I don't know. They're selling, the books we do to
Yeah.
They're selling them online.
So
from now until the day after the fair. And that's all.
Yeah. And there's also one on the holidays. The one on the holidays is called, I forget what it's called, but this one is called Talks on the Parsha. Okay, it's in English and in Hebrew. Yeah. Okay, so I actually want to do a little bit of, so that he should have a report in the hospital. Yeah. Okay. Barak, there's more glasses in the dishwasher. But I think there are also glasses in the dishwasher. They're in the dishwasher. Okay, so Parshat Va'yeitzei. It begins at where does it begin? Chapter 28, verse 10. Kafchet Pasuk Yud. Okay, you guys ready? Okay. How long are you staying, Jordan?
Tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Be
Be back in March.
Unless Mashiach comes first. You know, I don't know who this person is, but there's this man that he lived in the States, and he would come here, I guess, every so often for business and so on, like something with fruits and vegetables or whatever, like organic stuff. I don't know. Anyway, so he was going to the States, and it was 9/11, and like they were in the air, and they turned back to Israel, and he says, "Well, guess what? Pack up, and you're coming here."
Yeah.
Okay, Va'yeitzei Yaakov miBe'er Sheva vayelech Harana. Yaakov left from Be'er Sheva and he went to Haran. So there's a number of issues here that are brought up in Rashi, and the question is, why is the Torah telling us that? Why is the Torah telling us that he left from Be'er Sheva? We know where he lived and where he was going from. And why is the Torah telling us that he went to Haran? We know that already, because in the previous parsha, right, Rivka tells Yitzchak that that Esav is out to kill Yaakov, but she doesn't quite tell him that. She tells him, "Listen, I can't stand the girls in Canaan. It's time for him to get married. Let him go to my family and to find a wife." Right. So Yitzchak sends Yaakov to go and find a wife. And it says over there that Vayelech Padan Aram, he went to Padan Aram, and over there it's called Padan Aram, right? Which we were learning the other day. And over here the Torah is referring to Haran. Now, geographically, Haran is more specific. Padan Aram is like a region, and Haran is a specific city where Lavan is living. So, why is the Torah telling us again, and why is the Torah telling us Va'yeitzei, he left? So Rashi explains that that when a tzaddik leaves the city that he was living in, right? So the beauty, the glow, the shine leaves with him. In other words, it leaves an impression. People, you feel the absence of the tzaddik. You're aware that things are different. Things are different. When we first moved here, so that summer, the Rebbe was passed away, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and then a couple of months later, Reb Shlomo passed away. And it didn't take long, and I began to see that voices of division were getting louder in the community, and literally, and I saw that it was pretty apparent that the Lubavitcher Rebbe and Reb Shlomo were putting out such a strong message of unity that it helped people. It helped us be more unified, and those who had voices of division were not so open about it. Remember, I told you the story that so that year, a few months into the year, I'm walking in Agrippas at the corner there, and walking past that news stand at the corner, opposite Binyan Cloud, and I see come on in, Ian, move over here, please. Take another chair and let her sit over here, okay? Yeah, here. Why don't you, Jordan, move a bit to your left, move to your left. Can you have you? Shalom. Okay, is there another chumash? Yeah, there's another chumash right underneath. Here. Daniel, you have a chumash? Okay. So, So I'm walking by the newsstand, and there used to be a newspaper called either Kol Ha'ir or something like that. I don't know if you remember that. And on the front cover, on the front page of the newspaper, is a picture of some Haredim, and a photograph was taken of them, like a couple of guys, and they're covering their face with their hat because there are people who believe that a photograph is a graven image, and they don't want photographs.
It's a what image?
A graven image. It's like a pesach. It's you're not allowed to make a graven image of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Something someone might worship.
Statue.
Yeah. And so for example, there are pictures of the late Satmar Rebbe, the old Satmar Rebbe, but he also officially, he didn't want pictures taken of him. You can actually see some videos that he was caught in on YouTube. But there are people who believe that this is not allowed. The majority of people don't think so. They don't have any problem with photographs, but still, there are people who are very, very strict about it. Anyway, so there's a picture of this Haredim on the front page, and the caption says something like, "They don't even say hello to you in the street. That they ignore you." You notice that? Chas v'shalom. Nobody's going to ignore you.
Never.
Amen. Okay. And as I'm walking by, and I see the caption, and so the first thought that came to my mind was that here we were living in Rehov HaNitziv, number 7, and we were already living there for a few months, and I had this Haredi neighbor, and we never said hello. Do you remember the story? I should tell it again or not?
Yeah. Somebody else. Been sitting here a long time.
Okay, so and of course, I felt bad that it's not that. Sorry, I felt bad that I had that thought in my mind. But that's the problem with Lashon Hara. Once you hear Lashon Hara, it's very hard not to swallow it. Right? Very hard. You hear something bad about somebody, you remember it better than whatever you study for your medical exams or whatever you just sticks, right? Very hard to spit it out. Anyway, that summer, the following summer, a lot of people were coming to town for the unveiling of the monument for the Matzeva by Reb Shlomo's kever. And we're talking about 1994, and there weren't that many Chevra families in the community. There was the Witz, there was us, maybe one or two more, and about 40 people were flying in for the unveiling, from all over the world. So Witt arranged, maybe there were more even, I don't know, but Witt arranged that Friday night we were all going to daven together, and she parceled out the visitors to different homes. And Shabbos lunch, we were going to eat together at this place in the old city. So no, we didn't even have this table yet. There was a table in the apartment. We lived on number 700 Siv, and we were going to have 22 guests. And I would go to the Makolet and Rehov HaNitziv because there were these extra doors hanging around in the apartment. I'd bring home milk crates. I'd make tables with the milk crates with the doors. And that way we had room for everybody. So it was a hot summer day. And we were going to daven at the Kotel. So I take Netzach and Nachi, my two younger sons. And Netzach is about 8 years old at the time. Nachi is not quite 6 yet. And the davening was long because any song that Reb Shlomo had composed to any verse of the Kabbalat Shabbat, there were guys who insisted we have to sing that. And then there were people who said, I know a song on a word. We had to sing that. And there were those who knew a song on a letter, kind of exaggerating a little bit. But just to make it short, Shalom, come, there's a seat over here. You're going to give us a yoga class? Not yet. Soon. And so it's already 9:25. It's hot. And my son Nachi and Netzach were running around the whole time. Nachi hears the first note of Aleinu. He comes up to me, I'm tired. So I pick him up. 10 seconds later, he's sleeping on my shoulder. So now I have to carry him home all the way from the Kotel to this area. So I said to Netzach, take the guests with you. Take them home because it's going to take me twice as long. And tell mommy not to wait. Sing Shalom Aleichem, the Kiddush, start the meal because everybody's hungry. Finally, like around 10:30 at night, I'm coming down Rehov Netziv, number 7. And Nach is sleeping the whole way. And my neighbor, the very same neighbor that I thought of when I saw that newspaper picture, standing on this front, balcony, or like whatever you call it, ground level, but with his wife and a granddaughter, and in his Shabbos kapote and his shtreimel, and he says, "Good Shabbos." So I think to myself, wow, Shlomo, you're awesome. Like the whole year, the man didn't say anything to me. And this Shabbos, we're having your unveiling, and you're obviously bringing something really powerful down. So I say, Good Shabbos. So he says to me, Ata brot, are you Sholem Brot? I said, yeah. And who are you? He says, Steinberg. So then he says, Hayalecha oreach kan, you had a guest here. And I only had found 21 of the 22 that I was supposed to bring home. So I figured, number 22, And so I'm about to say, where is he? So he says, he's already reading my mind. He says, halach kvar, he left. So I'm thinking, what? I live next door to you, what do you mean he left? But he's got me figured out. He says, al tidag hu achal kvar. Don't worry, he ate already. Okay, where did he eat? Well, he ate by me. So now I got to know, how did this happen? Now, this Reb Steinberg was much older than me. Where's the golden kapata on Shabbos? You're a Shalmi, with a shtreimel, fur hat. How did this happen? So he tells me that, and this guy was from Britain, by the way. He was a British guy, and sorry, no offense, okay, but this man decided, I never met this man before. He decided it's just too late and it's too hot, and he's not going to the kotel. So he figured he'll have daven in the area. Davening was over somewhere. I don't know where he davened. And he sees 2 Jews standing in the street, Rabbi Steinberg and another friend of his, both in the gold kapotas with the shtreimels. And he goes up to Rabbi Steinberg and he says, where's number 7 Hanetziv? Rabbi Steinberg says, it's over here. Now, number 7 Hanetziv is like a high-rise building lying on its side. The whole block has the same address. Have you ever been there?
No.
The whole thing, like there's about 15 units, everybody's number 7. So Rabbi Steinberg said that this is number 7. So he follows him into his house. Rabbi Steinberg gives him a seat. They sing Shalom Aleichem, they make Kiddush, they wash, they eat the fish, they're eating the soup. Finally, in the middle of the soup, Mr. British is trying to figure out how come Sholem Brot is not talking to him. So he finally says to him, Ata Brot? He says, no. So poor Mr. British was so embarrassed, those manners that the Brits have and so on, right? And he starts to apologize to Rabbi Steinberg. No offense, don't worry. You guys are the Babachers, it's okay. And I'm just kidding. And Rabbi Steinberg tells him, listen, it's going to be a long time till Sholem Brot comes home. Eat up. So how much longer he stayed, I don't know, but at some point he finished and he left, thanked him, and he went. So now I had two questions in my hand. So the first thought was, and these are the people that stupid newspaper was saying they don't say hello to you in the street. It was obvious to Rabbi Steinberg that this man was not looking for him, was looking for me. It was obvious to him, right? But he knew that I'm not home. Okay, he knew that I'm not home yet. So instead of telling the guy, listen, you're probably looking for the brats, and they're next door, and who knows how long he's going to have to wait till he's going to get his meal, right? He covered for me like as if he was my brother, literally. Okay, and this is the guy that came to my mind when I saw that newspaper caption about they don't say hello to you in the street, right? So I felt like ashamed. And then I had two questions. One question was, so if he's so connected, then why doesn't he say hello to me in the street? And the second question was, what would I have done had somebody who was obviously his guest, had someone like that asked me where's number 7 on Yeshivat, and would have followed me into my house? Would I have covered for him the way he did for me, or would I have said to him, oh, you're probably looking for Rabbi Steinberg and he lives next door? So imagine if somebody with a kapote, with a shtreimel would come up to me in the street and say, where's number 7 on Yeshivat? And I say, here's number 7 on Yeshivat, and if he would follow me into the house. So concerning this question, I can only say, I hope I would. Okay. Concerning the other question, why doesn't he say hello in the street? That I figured out. Because the halacha is, as you know, we're supposed to be learning Torah all the time, right? So how do you learn Torah when you're in the street? So you can do like Barak does. Whenever Barak goes to the post office or to the bank, or just even walking into shul, he's walking around with an iPod in his ear, and he's listening to shiurim. You once told me that you learn about 10 to 15 hours a week just doing that.
Not as much anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. But if you don't have the iPod stuck in your ear, so what you do is you memorize a verse, a mishnah, a passage, so that when you're walking on the street, you could be learning Torah, or you think about something that you learned in the yeshiva today. Understand? You think about something that you learned, and that way, when you're walking in the street, you're learning. Okay. So I realized he's learning all the time when he's walking in the street, and the rule is that when you go into a Beit Midrash, you don't walk around hi to 150 people. Like you're there to learn. It's not a place to walk around and and socialize. So I figured out that he probably thinks that I'm also learning the entire time. So he doesn't want to interrupt my learning by saying hello. Okay? So one day I told him, Reb Steinberg, I figured it out, but I'm not learning all the time, so it's okay for you to say hello to me. And ever since then, to the day that he died, whenever he'd see me in the street, no matter from how far away, he would tilt his hat and say hello. So say hello. Okay.
Did you want the glass?
No, thank you.
He didn't mean to keep. He meant water. Do you want water?
Yeah, just the glass.
Okay, so why did I even tell that story? Anybody know?
Because it's a great story.
Yeah, but there was something about that we started reading the Parsha. Oh yeah. So I was talking about unity, and that when the Rebbe and Reb Shlomo were alive, they constantly put out a message of unity. Like I don't know if you got to hear what's the name of your chief rabbi, the former one?
Socks.
Rabbi Sachs, right? Rabbi Sachs, and he was the keynote speaker at the King's Hashluchim about 4 or 5 years ago, right? But it's that long already. So in his talk, he said like this. He said that one morning he and his wife, they were visiting the Alps and they were lost because the clouds came down. They couldn't see anything. So they went outside and he started singing Chabad songs. So she says, "Why are you doing that?" He says, "Because I'm sure there's a Chabad house around somewhere." You can travel the world. Today you can travel the world and you have where to be for Shabbos. And people do that. I know people that they plan their trips, Thailand, New Zealand, wherever they want to go. They have a place for Shabbos. It's amazing, okay? So he said that he said to Hitler, Yamach Shemai, the Nazis, Yamach Shemam, if they knew that there was a Jew hiding 50, 60, 100 miles away, a single Jew, they went after him. So he said the Rebbe's response to the Holocaust was, if we know that there's a Jew somewhere 1,000 miles away, we're going to send a shaliach. It's amazing. So when the tzaddik is alive, they bring down a certain energy to everybody, and when they leave, you feel that absence. So that's why the Torah says, "Va'yeitzei Yaakov miBe'er Sheva," that Yaakov left Be'er Sheva. His departure, even though Yitzchak and Rivka were still there, his departure was felt. Okay, his absence was felt. Vayelech Harana, and he goes to Haran, and instead of like before, it was referred to as Padan Aram, and now it's referred to as Haran. So, what's the lesson there? So this is all the Hasidic Sforim write about this. The word Haran also means anger, right? Haron Af. And he's going to the place of anger. So all the Hasidic Sforim explain that this story, and Rav Steinsaltz says also, this is not just a story about Yaakov Avinu. This is the story about every one of us. Is a story of the Jewish people. Yaakov Avinu is the first Jew born in Israel who goes into exile. It's the story of our souls coming down into this world, into the body. Right? Up in Shemaim, up in heaven, our souls are in a state of constant bliss in the presence of Hashem. Right? And now the soul has to come down to the body, has to come down and live in this world of anger, this world of competition, this world of wars, this world of jealousy, etc., etc. And it has to know we have to know how to cope. How do you come into this kind of a place without being deeply affected, corrupted, compromised, etc.? How do you spend your time here and come home safely? So the Ger Rebbe, the Svet Emet, says something interesting. He says that the halacha is that, let's say somebody comes to visit you from the other side of the mountain, for example, okay, and it's nightfall, and he doesn't have a lantern to go home with. You have to give him your lantern. In other words, you, the host, has to make sure that your guest can get home safely. You like that, eh? So that's actual halacha. It's a law. Okay. So he says Hashem sends us down to this world. So Hashem has to give us a lantern so that we can navigate in this world, so that we can come home safely. Right? And what's the lantern that Hashem gives us? What's the light? It's Kinei mitzvah v'torah or, as it says in scriptures, that every mitzvah is a candle and the Torah is light. Right? So with the light, with the candles of the mitzvot and the light of the Torah, we can live through in this world and not only survive here, but actually grow in ways that the neshama could not grow if it wouldn't come down to this world. Grow, what does it mean when we speak about the neshama growing? It means achieving a deeper connection with Hashem. If you can imagine that, it's hard to imagine. Like, what was its connection before, and what is a deeper connection? What's a higher connection? So I'm not going to pretend that I can speak about that because I can't. But you could learn about it. Okay? The Alter Rebbe speaks about it and so on. I learned a mimer once about that, but I don't remember it exactly. But it's a whole discussion that the Alter Rebbe has over there as to what's the advantage to the soul to come down to this world. Right? Everything is already good upstairs. Like why? Like I don't imagine that one day there was a news flash in heaven that a new shopping center opened up and we all went to God and said, God, we want to go shopping. Actually, I saw in that journal, Karov Elecha, which you guys like to read. So it's a really nice. Have you ever seen it? Karov Elecha. It's a very nice little 15-page thing we put out every week. Parshat Shavua. So it's Migvan Deyot.
Who puts it out?
I don't know who puts it out, but it's a blend between. It's a mixture of Chabad. They usually have something from Rav Steinsaltz. They usually have something from a musician, and they have the Mizrahi, the Dati Leumi people in there, and so on. So the question that was raised that they were discussing last week was, are you allowed to go to a shopping center? Speaking about shopping centers, what do you say?
Oh, do you go to shopping center when in Shabbos?
No. During the week. You're allowed to go, hang out in the shopping center.
Hang out or go shopping? Hang out.
So, okay, good. So I say, Litva, come on, explain. Good.
So go shopping there's a purpose. You're going to get something. When you're done getting that, you have to go back, and that's it.
And
To hang out and loiter in the shopping plaza is to waste time, and
it's spiritually dangerous.
Yeah.
It's like going into a spiritually dangerous place. And because
Is it the same for women and men?
Huh?
Is that the same for women and men?
It's the
not
same for
spiritually
women and men, yeah.
It's not
Because-
spiritually dangerous for women.
No, maybe not as, but it's spiritually dangerous in the sense that you're going into a place where the ideology is that whatever you have is not enough. You need more.
That's fair.
Fair enough? And in that
Point
sense,
taken. Okay.
is that more dangerous for women or less dangerous for women?
More than strong. Very much so.
Okay. So this particular rabbi is one of the Reb Shapiro, the Rosh Yeshiva and the Bnei Akiva Yeshiva and all that. He says, if you got to go and get something, go and get it and get out of there, because Bichlal, the whole world is a world based on trying to make you feel unhappy with what you've got, and you need more. That's basically how this system operates, right? I don't know if we're ever going to see a Breslover shopping center, because Reb Nachman just says, just be happy. It's not, a shopping center is not the kind of place where, you buy something, you're happy for how long?
2 days.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Till you see the next store, okay? So, what's the benefit to the soul to come down to this world? Why,
So we ruled out shopping malls.
Huh?
We ruled out the
We ruled out shopping malls. Okay, good. At least we know it's not that. Right? So that's what I'm saying. But I can't give it over in accurate words right now. But basically, the Alter Rebbe says is that the soul gets a higher level revelation of godliness through learning Torah and doing the mitzvot in this world. Simply put, the Zohar says that the soul's nourishment in heaven is Nahama de Kesufa. It's bread of shame. In other words, it's being fed without having earned it. And and by coming down into this world, the soul gets, because it's a world in which we have free choice, and we could not serve Hashem, and we have to struggle to do it. So the soul earns its reward versus just being nourished with the bread of shame. Okay, and that's a very natural thing, like the Gemara says, a person would rather have one portion of his own that he earned himself rather than 9 portions that are given to him for free. Okay?
So why do so many people play the lottery?
Huh?
Why do so many people play the lottery?
They're working hard, man.
More than 9 portions. That's not theirs.
And in Quebec they did a study a number of years ago. They also have lottery there, and they did a study on ordinary people who won the million plus, like a year or 2 after they won, their lives were ruined. The majority of them, these were people who didn't really know how to manage money. And of course, there's always these vultures that come down when there's a big carcass around, right? And they've got this fantastic idea where they should invest their money, and these people quit their jobs and they went and they splurged, for a few months. And usually within a year, they didn't have any more money, they didn't have their jobs, and they were destroyed. Interesting, yeah. So money isn't always a blessing, right? What did we learn? That we learned in the Balaturim that in Jacob's dream with the ladder. So the word sulam, ladder, is numerically mammon, money. It's a ladder. You can go up the ladder or you can go down the ladder. Money. You can use money the right way, or it can also destroy you. How many times have you heard about? I hope you haven't. That families are sitting shiva and there's an inheritance, and before you know it, there's a fight in the family, and they're going to court, and they're not speaking to each other, and this and that. And why? Who's going to get the cake? Right? Tragic. Okay, so it's the journey of the soul, right? So the parsha is about all of us. Vayivga b'makom, the next verse. Simply read, Vayivga b'makom means he happened on the place, right? So those of you who have English translations, how did he translate it?
He reached the place.
He reached the place, he came
And
upon
he
the
lighted
place.
upon the place.
Lighted upon the place.
He was impressed by the place.
But it's interesting that that's how he says that,
Right, yeah.
But that's what he says.
Mhm.
He was impressed by the place. Interesting. Anyway, but he came upon the place, Vayalin Sham, and he slept there. Kivah Hashemesh, because the sun had set. Vayikach me'avnei hamakom, and he took of the stones of the place. Vayasem v'shotav, he placed them around his head. Vayishgav b'makom hahu, and he slept in that place. So what's interesting here, a lot of things, but one particular thing right now, the first 2 words, Vayivga b'makom. The Talmud tells us, interprets this to mean that he prayed over there. And there are 10 different words that are used for prayer, and one of them is V'etchanan, V'yitpalel, etc. And each term has a somewhat different nuance to it. And Vayivga is a very intense prayer. The way Reb Shlomo puts it is that he gives an example. Suppose, for example, someone close to you, desperately, it's a matter of life and death, and you need to get $1 million for the person to have some surgery or something like that. and you're going, let's say you go to you always use Baron Rothschild as an example. You go to Baron Rothschild and you say, hey, Baron Rothschild, what do you think? You want to share $1 million so that I can save somebody's life? Is that the way you're going to talk to him, or are you going to grab him by the hand and you're going to say, listen, I got to save somebody's life. I'm desperate. I need $1 million, right? You're going to grab his arm and you're going to, really make it clear that you're desperate for this, right? So Vayivga is praying with like feeling desperate for Hashem's help. Like, in other words, desperate not in the sense that you know that you absolutely need this. You need this help from Hashem desperately. And from here that we learned that, yet from this verse we learned that Yaakov is the one who originated the evening prayer, Mariv. Abraham taught us to daven the morning prayer. Yitzchak taught us to daven the afternoon prayer. And Yaakov taught us to daven the evening prayer. Okay. Now, Mariv, Reb Shlomo speaks about this. So now you've got a couple of things to consider. One is that Mariv is being prayed at night. Okay. And that it's not chova, it's not obligatory. We're not talking about the reading of the Shema at night, we're talking about the Amidah, okay? It's cheshut. And whereas Shachris and Mincha are chova, so much that if you forgot to daven Shachris, or if you didn't manage to daven Shachris, you have to daven a second Shemoneh Esrei at Mincha. If you didn't manage to daven Mincha, you daven a second Amidah at Mariv. But if you didn't manage to daven Mariv, you don't make up for it because it was not obligatory in the first place. And furthermore, Shacharit and Mincha have time limits in which to pray, whereas Mariv, you can, any time of the night is fine. In other words, the entire night is fine for Mariv. You can daven Mariv the last 5 minutes of the night, or you can daven Mariv right from the first 5 minutes, right? So what does that mean? And why are we learning to daven Mariv, particularly with the word Vayifga? Right? By Yitzchak, when he goes out to pray, he says the word Lasuach. Va'yeitzei Yitzchak Lasuach Basadeh. He went out to speak to God. Okay. When Abraham was praying, it says Vayamod. He stood in prayer. But here for Mariv particularly, the Torah is using the most intense word. So why is the Torah using the most intense word? Okay. So Reb Shlomo explains like this. In the morning, right, the light is shining, you've got the day ahead of you, and you've got all these opportunities ahead of you. There's light, there's opportunity, right? It's a prayer for, okay, let's go have a good day. Okay. The afternoon prayer is somewhat more of a Thanksgiving prayer in the sense, first of all, the day is ending already, the sun is setting, right? And you're sort of like getting a sense of, well, what was this day like? And let's say, Baruch Hashem, not let's say let it be so, that you had a good day at the office, sold a lot of t-shirts, whatever you're in, you did well, or you were learning and you learned well today, and so on. And so mincha, the word mincha means a gift. And the prayer is a recognition that whatever you achieved today, it was all a gift from Hashem, and you're saying thank you, Hashem. Right? The morning you're starting out, you're praying to have a good day. the end of the day, you're praying and you're saying, Hashem, even though I made this deal and I made that deal and I made that deal, I recognize that all my talents are a gift that you've given me, and you've given me the opportunities to achieve these things. And that's Mincha. Okay? We also do Tachnun at Mincha during the weekdays, right? For the things that we didn't accomplish yet, or for the mistakes that we may have made. What about Mariv? What's the evening prayer about? So Reb Shlomo says the fact that it's Reshut, that it's not obligatory, implies that it has to be coming from a deeper level of your being. Okay? Something that's obligatory, you relate to it on a conscious level. You're told, do this, don't do that. Right? But when you're already getting into something that's something deeper, right? Like, for give you an example, can you be commanded to love?
We are.
We are, but all the commentaries are talking about that. How could you tell somebody, like when I was head teacher in Montreal at a school once, so like if kids got into a fight at recess or in class, the teachers would send them to me, right? So I'd say to them, I had a bench outside the office, so you guys are going to sit here till you make up and become friends. So you know what the smart kids would say to me? You can make me sit next to this guy as long as you want, but you can't make me like him. Right? That's what they would say right away. Like, you can't make me like this guy. Like, but you can't make me like, but you have to live. Okay, you can give me a mitzvah that this is a really wonderful, beautiful thing to do, and so on and so on, right? But you can't, but otherwise, like, okay, it's time to daven. Yeah, I can daven. I can say these things. I can do these things, and so on. But something that's deeper, it's more your inner self. It's more spontaneous and so on. Like, so Marav being a prayer that is reshut, that is not obligatory, that means that you're praying it because you want to pray this prayer. Okay? Now, why do you want to pray this prayer that is not obligatory right now? You did what you had to do already, right? What are you praying for in Marav? What is Yaakov praying for here this night that he's going to sleep? What is he praying for? Right? So the Medrash says that Yaakov is going through this crisis as he's leaving Israel. Why am I not as good as my father and as my grandfather? Am I not as good as my parents? I'm getting kicked out of, I have to run away from Eretz Yisrael. Right? Like, what's this all about? And he's seemingly on the verge of despair. Like, like a lot of people, like, you get kicked out of class. I don't know if anybody here ever got kicked out of class, but I got kicked out of class. I have a lot of experience. Why are you smiling? You never thought that you thought I never got kicked out, right?
I'm just actually thinking about how many people here have actually been kicked out.
This is the yeshiva for the kicked outs. It's true. It's our yeshiva, the yeshiva for at least second, third, fifth chance, right?
No, maybe the Lubavitcher Rebbe also got kicked out of some class at some point.
He never went. He just had private tutors. He learned everything himself. Rav Steinsaltz, I heard, told his students at the yeshiva that when they would give him books in school, he would just throw them away. I don't want to learn from books. I don't need books to learn. And you don't learn from books. Anyway, we learn from the Torah for sure. I saw I saw Pesach this morning too.
Clearly. Sure. Thank you.
But you're dressed. He was in the mikveh.
Too much.
You're allowed to say that even if you're on air. No? Do we need to explain that? You know, men go to the mikveh in the morning. You've heard about that? Okay. So, sorry, where was I? Yeah. So, come on, Lou.
Getting kicked out of class.
Yeah. So the a lot of people, when you get kicked out, so you what do? You sort of like, you hear it often enough in school from your teachers that you're a failure, you're this, you're no good, you know that, and we end up to some degree swallowing that lie, right? And even if we don't end up being a failure, mamish a failure, very often we don't end up being as great as you could be, right? Because somebody or the system or some individual teacher, like, you know, or sometimes, God forbid, a parent even has convinced the kid, you're nobody special, maybe you're not even as good as everybody else, right? And so here's Yaakov, like, you know, like, this is no small thing. He has to flee from Israel, right? So the Medrash says, like, you know, like, he's like, what's going on? So the Medrash says that, you know, that he says, no, it can't be. And quotes the verse says, Hashem oseh shamayim va'aretz, my help comes from Hashem, the creator of heaven and earth. In other words, he turns to Hashem and he says, there's no way. And it's not just simple words. He's talking to God with, like, somebody who's desperate, like somebody who's drowning. You know, that if you ever, anybody hear a lifeguard? I've been told that one of the first things they teach a lifeguard is, who?
Long time.
You were?
Yeah.
So I heard that one of the first things that they teach you is never let the person drowning grab you, because they have a dead man's grip and they'll drown you. I had a student that was drowned that way when he jumped in to save somebody, and the kid, like, you know, the kid much younger than him drowned him. The kid
The
survived.
training that I had was how to get out of those locks.
How to get out of those locks.
Yeah. So they would come and grab you, and you'd have to get out. Grab the other way, and have to get out.
And but if they grab your arm and so on, it's not.
There are all kinds of ways.
There are ways to do it, but you have to know. If you don't know how, like, you know, like, you're in trouble. Okay. The same thing, the mashal, for example, if you want to help somebody that's in the severe depression, you really got to guard yourself. You can't, you got to be careful that it's your line of work, right? You got to be careful that they don't drag you down.
You have
Right?
to be like emotionally healthy before you can like help others, because otherwise they'll take you in and you'll.
And even if you're emotionally helpful, you got to know, you got to keep your guard.
You have to know your boundaries.
You got to keep your boundaries. I have a friend that told me that one of his children had gone into a really bad space. Like, you know, she went through a breakdown. And he says the best advice that he got at the time was from his rabbi, who said, your job, he said to him and to his wife, your job is to remain the simcha. You have to stay happy. He was like, what? You know, my kid is in such a terrible place and you know, such a severe breakdown. You're telling me that I have to be happy? But you know what he told me? He says he was 100% right. The rabbi was. Why? Because she needed to see that the reality that she was in is just different, and that there's a healthy reality that she can aspire to. And if you let them drag you down, right, chas v'sholem, then they don't have what to climb up to.
Lose your sense of hope.
They lose their sense
There's
of hope.
like no light at the end.
Right. They need you to see that there's light in the world, you know. So Yaakov is praying to Hashem desperately. Okay. Vayifga b'makom. Makom is another one of the nicknames for Hashem. Right? So he turns. I'm sorry, I don't want to step on your toes. He turns to Hashem in desperation. So what does that have to do particularly with Ma'ariv? Why particularly Ma'ariv? And we'll finish with this. I know we're going late. Why particularly Ma'ariv? Because at the end of the day, you're going to sleep and you realize, last night when I went to bed, I was hoping that today would be a better day, that I would be a more real person, I would be a more sincere person, I would learn more, I would this more, I would that more, I would be like mamish, like more real me. And I didn't quite achieve it. I compromised on this, I compromised on that, I gave into this, I gave into that, and so on. And you realize that there are things that you're not going to accomplish unless you get Hashem's help. Okay? In other words, deeper inner stuff that is not so easy to change, you need the gift of Hashem's help to accomplish these things. And the question is, how desperately are you praying for it? And if you really, really want it, and so that's the Ma'ariv prayer, okay? And according to how much you really want it, so the Ishbisher says it's during your sleep that Hashem starts to clean you up. It's like sleep therapy. Right? In on many levels. You understand? It's like among Hasidim, they wish each other, when they say goodnight, they say, we should have Hasidic dreams. So once the Chosser asked the Alter Rebbe, how could I do that? So the Alter Rebbe said to him, you learn a mimer, the Hasidic discourse, 60 times. Learn it really well and meditate on it. Then you'll have Hasidic dreams. And it was this Chosser, his name was Reb One night there was a fire in the house and they had to wake him up to get out of the house. And he said, you guys interrupted such a beautiful piece of Hasidus. Okay? Now that's, he was having Hasidic dreams, okay? But in other words, there is such a thing as therapeutic sleep, okay? So the next time you fall asleep in class and the teacher says, what are you doing? You say, I'm in the middle of therapy, excuse me. And we should be blessed to pray for this sincerely with the sense of Hashem, I really want to be a clean being, a clean soul. I really want that when somebody asks me for a favor, I really want to do it with all my heart. When I see somebody, I want to see the person and I want to connect with them rather than thinking of what's our business relationship. In other words, what am I going to get from you for being your friend, and what are you expecting of me, and so on. In other words, I want to get out of the transactional stuff of my life. I really want to be real that when I give tzedakah, I'm not giving tzedakah just because I have to. That when I'm learning Torah, I'm not learning Torah just because I want some olam haba. I want it to be because I want to really be connected with you. Okay. So that's why you've got a makom, and that's particularly for Ma'ariv and that's why Ma'ariv is a non-obligatory prayer, because if it's obligatory, you're not going to get into the kishkas. it's not obligatory, you realize that I got to get into my kishkas and to like for example, you go knocking on Hashem's door, and he says, "What are you doing here?" So, and you say, "Well, it's Shachar. She told me to come." In the afternoon, you knock on his door again, and he says, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "Well, it's Mincha. You told me that I'm supposed to be here now, right?" But Mariv, you knock on the door, and Hashem says, "What are you doing here?" And you say, "I just so much want to be here. I'm so desperate to talk to you." And it's through that desperation that Shlomo explains that brings down the cleansing and the healing on the inner level. So Reb Steinsaltz, just to sum up with Reb Steinsaltz points out that this is the story of the yeshiva boy going out into the world, or growing up and going out on your own. You're no longer in the bubble, in the insular bubble that you grew up in, right? And it's the story of the Jews in the world trying to be who we're meant to be in a world that keeps on saying, "Shh, we don't want you. We don't want to hear your message." And Rashi quotes the Gemara that halacha he Esav sonei Yaakov, Esav hates Yaakov, and we have to live in this world of hatred and ultimately turn it around. So if you remember, Netanyahu, when he gave a speech at the United Nations a few years ago, he said that when he first was ambassador to the UN for Israel, he went to visit the Lubavitch Rebbe, and the Lubavitch Rebbe said to him, "You're going into a house of lies, and just remember that a little bit of light dispels a lot of darkness." We have to remember that. And we have to do it with simcha, with joy, and Shabbat good Shabbos. We're not here to Shabbos, by the way. Okay. Thank you for coming and have a good Shabbos.
Yeah,